Dan, thank you so much. Good morning. Rob Hakala and Lisa Azizian hearing one of the songs from World War I, Pack Up Your Troubles. And we're going to go back to World War I in this segment. A new book out, Jim Hamilton, Marshfield resident, local author. He's got a new book out called The Black Cats of Amherst. It's the true story of a World War I ambulance unit that served in France and Belgium during the last year of the war, and Jim and Patti have a personal connection to the story. That's right, Jim Hamilton has brought along another local resident, Patti Smith, and they are both in studio to talk about this book. Welcome, both of you. Thanks for coming in today.
Our pleasure.
Yes, it's a great pleasure.
Well, Jim, let's talk about this because both of you have personal connections, relatives, and Jim, you were just mentioning, of course, we're talking about 100 years ago, going back to World War I, and how did the story start for you? Did you want to do some research into what your grandfather had done?
Well, he had collected a lot of things. So I had his diary, I had letters, I had photos, and I knew that that would be the starting point. But I was able to find a lot of other materials, including several other diaries, and a unit history that the Black Cats created in 1920 when they all came back from the war. And one of the nice things that Patti Smith helped me with was that she had a copy of that her father had brought home and then actually embellished, added other things too, photos and all sorts of other interesting items.
Wow. Pretty amazing that you were found. So when we talk about the Black Cats of Amherst, we're talking Amherst out in Massachusetts.
Exactly. So the core of the group formed at Amherst College in June of 1917. It wasn't just Amherst College students. There were Mass Agricultural College, forerunner to UMass, and some local residents and people from other areas. But it was a lot of people with ties to Amherst, either college or town.
My goodness.
And so they went to fight in World War I as part of the, to do their part in the ambulance corps?
Right. So right at that point, the U.S. had declared war in April of 1917. So in June, they chose to join a U.S. Army ambulance unit, which then trained in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and they sailed in August of 1917 and were in France by September of 1917 and were there for really, until the armistice and beyond. They actually spent a little time in Germany after the war.
Wow.
Jim, what was it like to realize during your research that another wonderful resource and connection lived right here in the same town?
It was actually pretty mind-blowing. Amherst College is a fairly small school, so they have biographical records on every single person who ever attended the school. And through that, I was able to track down, and I wanted to find as many descendants as I could.
Yeah.
And finding Patti was just really incredible because not only the unit history she had some other interesting artifacts.
Wow. Well, let's bring in Patti now, and this was pretty amazing that Jim was able to meet you or to connect with you, and this is also part of your family history.
Yes, it is, and it's very exciting for me. And I was very fond of my father and my Uncle Chester, and I heard many stories about their adventures, so to speak, in World War I.
Wow. So you were able to hear those stories firsthand.
Yes, I was. Yep.
And they talked about their time in Europe and what they did?
Yes, they did. Yes, they had a lot of frightening experiences and a lot of worthwhile type things, too.
And you held on to some of the archives or material? What kind of things did you have?
Well, I had letters. I had photographs. My family and myself were kind of like pack rats. We like to save all this family memorabilia, and I was happy that I did save all of it.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the candlesticks?
Well, the candlesticks, when my mother and father were married, the people that were in the group gave the couple-to-be sterling silver candlesticks that were engraved with their initials and the Black Cat.
Wow. And the Black Cat, that's the logo that the unit used, or?
Yes, it was their logo.
Wow. Okay. Thus the Black Cats of Amherst.
Yeah, it was almost a contrarian, like a good luck symbol.
Yeah.
They felt like they had Black Cat good luck. And it's not exactly clear to me why they chose that, but they painted that logo on their ambulances. Patti actually has a plaque from one of those ambulances that doesn't have a black cat painted on it, but it's got one of their Croix de Guerre medals painted on it. And then, of course, the candlesticks are just an amazing item.
Well, I think it's interesting that the black cat has his back raised up, just as a cat would who is rather frightened or is on guard. And every time I've looked at it, I thought, oh, someone is on guard.
Wow.
Interesting.
And of course, I mean, they did have to go and serve in the war, but they were very decorated. Jim, maybe and Patti, you can talk more specifically about what type of awards they received.
Well, the French did give the unit and then individuals Croix de Guerre awards, and it was generally for things like, you're going to the front lines, you're under fire, you're taking significant risks to bring back wounded soldiers, and if you were mentioned in an Army communique, you would very likely be awarded a Croix de Guerre, and they were given multiples of those. And you see pictures of them wearing not only the Croix de Guerre, but also what's called a fourragère, which is like a braided cord that you receive, and it's a very high honor to have those. And you only get those if you've got multiple mentions in communiques and multiple awards.
Wow. And, we chatting with Patti Smith, and of course, she's talking about her father and uncle.
Yes.
Who served, and Jim, you're talking about your grandfather. Patti heard some of these stories firsthand. Jim, how are the stories passed down to you? Did you hear about some of these as well, or did you have to do digging?
My grandfather collected a lot of things, and he had some remarkable documents. One was a diary that he kept, but also, as a freshman at Amherst College, he sent a letter to the Secretary of State, who was also an Amherst graduate, asking for advice about what he should do, because a lot of the students were saying, should we enlist? Should we stay in school? Should we wait? What should we do? And the Secretary of State wrote back to him and said, basically, a young man of conscience needs to support his country. You got to get in there.
Wow. Wow. And so they did.
Yeah.
The Black Cats of Amherst, Jim Hamilton. It's a new book out. A lot of material in here. There's some great photos as well. A lot of historic archives. So again, we're talking about some of the events 100 years ago, and we know that there are South Shore connections, and perhaps maybe in your family, some of us may not know or forgotten. So Jim Hamilton has been with us, and also Patti Smith talking about her own father and uncle. And so, Jim, how can people pick up this book? We want to read it now.
All right. Well, my website is greenharbor.com. So,
that's a good one.
That is a good one. I got that one about 20 years ago.
It was in early.
And there's information there on other books that I've written, but you also see the Black Cats of Amherst. And I've self-published it, and it's available as a print-on-demand book through lulu.com.
Wow, lulu.com. All right, check it out. We just got a text in from one of our listeners as well. Pack rats rule. Again, that's, I guess saying again, holding on to things is a good thing. And it can be in this case. So,
I agree.
Jim and Patti Smith and Jim Hamilton, thank you both for coming in today.